Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the best pitches in MLB The Show. Yes, pitches, not pitchers. I know I say this in every single pitching video, but I have to repeat it. Pitching is extremely subjective in this game. What works for me probably not work will not work for you, and what difficulty you play in definitely plays a big role. In this video, we're gonna rank every pitch type into a tier list and break it down which one plays best across each level of online difficulty. We'll start off with Hall of Fame, which is more popular than ever, I believe. Now that World Series is at 100 rating, I feel like we see a lot of more players trying to make that push to finally make it to World Series. So I feel like Hall of Fame is a much more popular difficulty this year than it has ever been. Then we'll go into All-Star and finally wrap it up with Legend difficulty for those top tier players. Quick disclaimer here, please, this is a very heavy meta approach strictly for online play, okay? Offline and online game, it's not the same, okay? I'll die on that hill. So before I see anyone commenting, oh, you just don't know how to use the curveball, it's definitely a skill issue. You can definitely throw the curveball, just gotta know when to throw it. Sounds like a skill issue to me. While you're playing offline against the CPU, like, brother, we may play the same title, but we definitely don't play the same game, right? It's like back in the day, in the Black Ops 2 days, where if someone said that SVUAS was as good, if not better, than the Ballista or the DSR 50, and then you find out they were playing offline against bots, would you take that seriously? Exactly. Same thing applies here. So as always, I've got chapters in the description and a pinned comment with timestamps, so feel free to skip around if you're looking for something specific. Let's get into it. Starting off for the Hall of Fame tier list, we have the 2-seam, and the 2-seam is not as bad as it is on All-Star, but it's still pretty bad. So I'm going to put this straight into D tier. Regular 4-seam, probably just C tier. I mean, hitting a 4-seam with no outlier is very easy in every difficulty, especially once you get to Hall of Fame. Legends start to face better players. I think this is going to get crushed, but I don't think it's just flat. Like, I don't think this is borderline don't throw it, but you have to be very careful. Outlier 4-seam, S tier. It's going to be hard, especially if your pitcher has very good speed differentials. It's always hard to catch up unless you're sitting on it. Once you hit Legend, it's extremely hard to hit an outlier fastball. Obviously, if you're cracked and a top 1,000 player in the world, then you're going to hit every pitch, no matter what. The 12-6 curve. I don't think this is borderline don't throw it, but I still think you can throw it sometimes. Just don't overthrow it. Probably just go straight into D tier. The changeup, B tier. On Hall of Fame, it's a solid, strong pitch, but it's not one of the best pitches in the game. On Hall of Fame, yes, you can still shrink PCIs down and away, and it's a very hard pitch to square up. But on Hall of Fame, PCI is still big enough, so I don't think it really makes a difference, and it's really easy to hang these pitches as well. On Hall of Fame and All-Star, you probably want to shy away from these pitches too, so I'm going to put the circle change, same thing, in the B tier. Obviously, if you're not meta pitching and you're just throwing this in the dirt and still getting swings and misses, you can probably put it in the A tier. But for me, I'm gonna be a little conservative here, more selective with what I consider to be the best pitches on Hall of Fame, so I'm gonna keep them in B tier. The curveball, F tier, one of the worst pitches in the game. Extremely loopy, very easy to recognize out of the hand, and you're gonna hang these a lot. Cutter, regular cutter, I love the regular cutter. S tier for me. I think it's one of the best pitches in the game. Obviously, if you have a sinker, that tunnel is the meta. It's the best pitch mix in the game. Sinker cutter. You're going to have a lot of success throwing that. I don't think that doesn't come to as a surprise to you, but it's still one of the best pitches in the game, especially that slow cutter like Danny Columbe or like Pedro Martinez, where you can just dot the cutter. You will have people swinging through it, or maybe get weak grounders, outlier cutter. Pretty sure Emmanuel Clase is the only guy that throws this, and he doesn't have the best pitch mix. So I'm gonna put this in the A tier because Clase is the only guy that I can think of that actually throws this pitch, and he's not the best. So I'm gonna keep this in the A tier. But if we're just talking like pure, uh, like outlier cutter, we're only looking at that pitch. It's definitely in the S tier. But since the only guy that throws it doesn't have the best pitch mix, you cannot abuse this pitch in my opinion. At least not on Hall of Fame. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it in the A tier. The forkball, pretty much the same pitch as the changeup and the circle change. It's probably a little bit better just because I'm thinking about John Donaldson and how good this pitch is with an outlier four seam. I really wanted to bump this up to A tier, but I don't think I will. Knuckle curve. So this is the outlier knuckle curve. I think this goes into D tier, but since I just realized I don't have the regular knuckle curve, I forgot to add it here. I'm gonna put this in the F tier. We're gonna consider this being just the regular knuckle curve, probably the second best, or if not the worst pitch in the game. Screwball. The screwball, I think this goes straight into C tier. It's kind of easy to hang it, but especially if you have like Devin Williams or Valenzuela, they throw pretty hard screwballs, and it's a very hard pitch to square up, especially after seeing outlier for 6 innings. You throw in righty Devin Williams that throws a screwball. It's very hard and weird to catch up. Obviously, there's still risk to hang these pitches, obviously, and it's not very easy to dodge, especially with Devin Williams low control. But it's better than what the 2-seam and the 12-6 curve, in my opinion. Regular sinker, S tier. Outlier sinker, S tier. I don't think there's anything that I don't think I need to add anything here. It's just the best pitch in the game, and it will forever be the best pitch in the game until they change the mechanics. That's just how it is. Slider, regular slider. I think this is a very good pitch. Slider. You can still get a lot of swings and misses on inside. You can dot this pitch. Very hard to square up for some people that tend to slam their PCI. You can always hit that sweet spot where they're going to be either on top of it or they're going to hit a pop up. Outlier slider, S tier. Extremely hard to square this thing up on any difficulty. John Donaldson is the only guy that throws it. I'm kind of cheating here, but even a bullet slider from like DeGrom or Hunter Brown throws it pretty hard too. I know a schoolball does it too. A 90 plus mile an hour slider is always going to be very hard to square up. The slurve, I don't think it's as bad as F tier. I'm gonna put this in the D tier. Splitter, so I have the same splitter. So okay, 93 mile an hour splitter. So the first splitter that we have here, this is the regular splitter. I'm gonna put this in the C tier. Outlier splitter. Again, Skeens is the only guy that throws this, and I think that card is pretty bad. I'm gonna put this in the C tier. I don't think this is a very good pitch at all, especially if your pitcher already has a sinker. I think that was the stupidest thing they could have done with that outlier splitter. I really don't get that. Sweeper. The sweeper is actually not bad. I'm gonna put this in the C tier. It's better than the slurve, and that sweeper from Dustin May was pretty nasty at the beginning of the year. I'm really fucking with the Evan Phillips sweeper. I think that's disgusting. Ottavino always has a nasty sweeper. So I'm going to put this in the C tier. This sweeping curve, I did not know this was a thing until I pitched with Hal Newhouser when I was getting all these screenshots for the video. So you're never going to pitch Hal Newhouser. It looked kind of cool and interesting, but it was extremely loopy. It's under 80 miles an hour. This is going to get crushed. You're probably never going to be able to throw strikes. So I'm going to put this in the F tier. The Volcom change, I'm going to put this in the B tier, which turned out to be the changeup tier, honestly, here for Hall of Fame. But I think this is where it goes. So a quick little recap here. I think C tier is where you have borderline pitches where you can throw these maybe like 10 to 15% of the time. B tier is where it starts getting a little bit up there, like 15 to 20%. A tier, you can probably throw this 20 to 30%, and S tier, you're going to be spamming these pitches 50% of the time. D tier, you probably want to throw these pitches, I don't know, like maybe once an inning. You definitely don't want to overthrow this. Maybe, you know, I really wouldn't recommend you throwing these pitches more than 5% of the time. And F tier, you're just never throwing. Like, ignore that button. You're never throwing these pitches, like, ever. Let's move on to All-Star. All right, let's go into All-Star. Again, we're going to start off with the 2-seam. F tier, you're never throwing this pitch in All-Star. It's extremely slow. Doesn't work on this difficulty. Sorry to say that. Non-outlier fastball 4-seam. I think it's probably a little bit better, because on All-Star you still see people struggle to hit fastballs in general. It's just too much for them, I guess. It's too fast. So I'm gonna bump the 2-seam to D tier. I don't think it's straight up cheeks, but it is pretty bad. So I'd definitely be very, 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 very careful with that. Outlier fastball, best pitch in the All-Star difficulty. People that play on All-Star struggle to hit. That's the reality. And the majority of them cannot even make contact with an outlier fastball. So this is all you're pretty much looking for, is a huge speed differential on All-Star. The curveball, 12-6. It's very easy to hang, but you can still get people just fooled because they're bad players, right? So I'm going to put in the C tier. Just throw it in the dirt and you'll probably get a lot of swings and misses. So I'm going to put it in the C tier. It's very easy to hang, still very easy to hang. It's not as easy to hang as on higher difficulties, because it's so much easier to pitch in this difficulty in All-Star. But even then, I don't think I can put it any higher than C tier. The changeup, I think changeups are very bad on All-Star. So I'm going to put the circle change in the changeup on the D tier. I mean, again, if you're throwing it in the dirt and your opponent is swinging at it, cool. But they can still make contact because of the size of the PCI. They're going to be slamming their PCI most of the times anyways. So unless you're literally throw it in the dirt and they swing at it, it's a good pitch. But most of the time, I don't think it's a very good option on All-Star. The curveball, probably D tier again. I like the 12-6 better than the curveball. Regular curveball, I think is pretty bad. I'm gonna throw in this F tier, bro. F it. Yeah. Cutters on All-Star, they tend to get crushed because they're not as fast as a 4-seam, and the movement doesn't really matter because the PCI is just so big. Unless you're playing someone that is going to pop up every cutter that you throw. I'm torn between B and C. Sorry. I'm going to put it in the B tier for now, but we'll come back to that. Outlier cutter, S tier. Anything that goes over 100 on All-Star and has a little bit of movement is going to be in the S tier. All-Star players cannot touch anything that goes triple digits. The forkball, similar to the 12-6. If you can put it in the dirt, I'm going to put it in the D tier. It's not. Yeah, it's very similar to the changeup here. I cannot do that. Knuckle curve, D tier. I think it's a little bit better than a Hall of Fame. I know it says 88. I already talked about this on the Hall of Fame tier list. I thought I had the regular knuckle curve. This one is the outlier knuckle curve, but we're going to treat it as the regular knuckle curve. Gotta put this in the D tier. Now, you know what? I'm going to bump these pitches up, bro. Like, I don't think it's as hard and incredibly just hard to pitch on All-Star as people make it seem. I really believe that you can, if you know what you're doing, you can pitch on All-Star. It's even easier to locate. Parts are smaller, and if you're just dotting and throwing, in the dirt, most of the people will swing at anything anyways. I don't think it's as hard, honestly. Obviously, I'm speaking from experience playing on All-Star earlier in the year. Now I'm mostly on Legend and Hall of Fame. So with how good the cards are now, I've probably been a little bit. Yeah, no, I'm gonna bump this down. Yeah, I don't think it's anything crazy. I'm gonna put the two seam in the F tier as well. Same thing with the forkball. Nah, I'll just yeah. I'm gonna put the knuckle curve in the F tier though. The screwball. The Valenzuela screwball, 83 mile an hour is probably like S tier for me at least. But it's still very weird. I'd probably put it in the C tier. I think you can still make some people miss a lot. Sinker, S tier. Alloy sinker, S tier. Probably the regular sinker probably like A tier because people will turn to slam their PCIs in these difficulties. So you kind of want to pitch like in the middle, like not middle, but in between the black and the middle. That's what people really struggle to hit those pitches. And I feel like the sinker will just go straight to the black and the in the corners, and people really slam their PCIs in this difficulty. And if it's not as fast, they'll probably catch up a lot easier. So for that reason, I'm gonna keep the regular sinker on the A tier. But if you have a guy with outlier sinker, S tier. Slider, very loopy slider. It's extremely loopy on All Star. And I put this in the C tier. I mean, if it's Chris Sale's slider, it's probably S tier, right? But it's not. It's just a regular slider. I'm gonna put this in the C tier. It's not great. It's not bad. Outlier slider, S tier. If you have used John Donaldson on All Star, you're murdering people with this inside slider. All-Star players cannot touch it. The slurve, loopy, but it's not terrible. I'm gonna put it in the D tier again. The splitter, I think this is one of the worst pitches in All-Star, honestly. People will just slam their PCI, and since splitters tend to be like 88, 90, it's kind of like the perfect spot for them where they're going to be late to a fastball and they would be early to a changeup. Is the perfect time for a splitter. So I'm gonna put this in. I think it's horrible. I know you can tunnel it with a curve with a four seam, and it still looks the same out of the hand. But on All Star, there's a lot more time to react, and yeah, I don't really rate anything that goes into like the 88, 94s mile an hour pitches are like the worst pitches on All Star in my opinion. It's like that sweet spot where it's not too slow to get early swings, and it's not fast enough to get late swings. It's like the perfect speed for these types of players. The sweeper, good against someone that will swing at anything. Probably a C tier. I really like the sweeper this year. Sweeping curve, probably just D tier. And the Vulcan change, D tier? Yeah, I'll probably keep it the same here. So, on All-Star, quick recap here. I know people say, like, it's impossible to pitch on All-Star. I haven't pitched on All-Star in, like, 2 months now. So, I don't know what to say. Really, with all the games that we have now, I believe that it's impossible to pitch. Like, really. It's even very hard to pitch on Hall of Fame and Legend now with all the great cards that we have. So I take your word for that. At the beginning of the year, I thought it was super easy. I was dominating with every pitcher that I had. But now, I'm going to keep it simple. S tier, outlier fastball, outlier cutter, outlier sinker, outlier slider, outlier. Outlier is the only thing you're looking for when you're pitching on All-Star. It's really what matters. You see a lot of players on Reddit be like, man, I cannot touch Nolan Ryan. And Nolan Ryan is a very bad card if you're facing someone that's good. So that's literally you can have 5 starters with outlier and 8 relievers with outlier, and you're going to do just fine on All-Star. So outlier is what you're looking for, and honestly, you're gonna probably spam this 60% of the time. These pitches that you see on S tier, you're probably spamming this 60, if not 70% of the time. 'Cause they cannot just they won't square it up. A tier, sinker. Again, this pitch you'll probably throw it 30% of the time, 20 to 30% of the time. B tier, you're probably throwing this 15% of the time. C tier, you're probably throwing this, 8 to 12% of the time. D tier, you're probably throwing this only when you have two strikes and you have seen that your opponent has a tendency to swing at garbage in the dirt. And you're probably throwing this 2 times an inning. And F tier, you're just never throwing this, in my opinion. Let's move on to legend. The legend tier list. I really love legend because it's kind of hard to pitch if you are someone that constantly messes up their releases, either be it with pinpoint or analog, whatever you use. But if you don't miss and the game doesn't fuck you over with throwing perfect releases down the middle, it is a very pleasant experience to actually be able to pitch like you would in real life. Tunneling is amazing. The game just runs so smooth in this difficulty, and it's hard. It's hard to hit, but it's not as hard to pitch, in my opinion. So, two seam. You're going to notice that a lot of these pitches are like usable. I don't think they're terrible. Two seam on legend, it's usable. It's not as bad as it is on lower difficulties. Regular fastball, though, I think this is a bad pitch. Especially if you don't have the speed differential, which, a non-outlier fastball, you would have issues with it. I'm gonna put in the C tier. I think D is definitely too harsh. S tier, forcing fastball. If you've ever played on legend, which if you're here you probably have, it's incredibly tough to pick up on, I don't know, like Billy Wagner once he comes out of the pen. If you just saw Corey Kluber for 6 innings, the jump from regular pitches to outlier, it's insane on legend. Very hard. Outlier fastball is always going to be S tier. I know this year everybody has outlier. It's not as exclusive and as rare as it once was, but it's still elite in my opinion. The 12-6, you kind of want to shy away from these pitches because if you hang them, the people that you play on legend, they're going to crush it. So I'm probably going to put this in D tier. Change-ups, I'm gonna put this in the A tier just because it's very easy to hang them, at least for me. Yesterday I was playing on the weekend classic. It was my last game. I went 3-3 on my first 6 games, and I won 4-3. And my opponent hit 2 home runs, 2 perfect. The only 2 perfect contacts that he made were were the 2 times that I hung a changeup without a lighter. It's very easy to crush a pitch like that when you're facing someone. It's very easy for someone that's good at the game to crush a changeup down the middle. They're not going to punish you as much as like if you throw a 4-seam outlier down the middle, chances are they miss it. If they're not ready for it, it's legend. But the shrinking PCI bullshit. If you can dot the circle change and the changeup, it's definitely S tier. But if you are not dotting consistently, it goes in the A tier. Probably should be in the S tier, but with how inconsistent pinpoint and pitching is in general, I have to keep them in the A tier. Curveball, F tier. You never throw in this. Very loopy, extremely easy to read out of the hand. You're playing players that recognize these types of pitches. Chances are you're gonna hang it. If you don't, you can still get some swing and misses. I know curveballs, especially like lefty are kind of tricky. Inside curveballs, like belt high inside curveballs, are kind of tricky, but I still probably wouldn't be throwing this very often. Cutters, S tier. Outlier cutter, S tier. Cutters are one of the best pitches in the game. You usually tend to have very good control on your cutters, so it's very easy to dot them, especially with players like Maddox, Corbin Burns, Danny Colum. It's extremely easy to dot, and it's very hard to square up if you're not ready for it. And the tunneling with the sinker, it's very deadly. That's why it's been the meta for years now. The forkball. If you have a pitcher with 15 plus mile an hour differential, it's probably like S tier. I really find that it's not as hard. I don't really hang forkballs as often as I do changeups. I don't know why, but that's just been my experience. I'm a keep, but I don't think it's not a pitch that you're going to be throwing 50% of the time. So I'm gonna keep it in the A tier. While a changeup, you could probably do it if you're pitching someone like Darren O'Day or even someone like Andrew Miller. Knuckle curve, regular knuckle curve probably F tier. Outlier knuckle curve probably D tier. I'm gonna put this in the D tier. Screwballs on Legend, I think they're A tier. Maybe you could make an argument they're S tier, but you're gonna eventually hang one, and you're facing great players. They're not gonna miss it. Sinkers, S tier. Outlier sinker, S tier. Probably the best pitch in the game. Well, yes, you are facing better players, and if you're pitching lefty, they're sitting inside sinker, but it's still very hard with the servers that we got. Peer-to-peer connection is such bullshit. If you have crossplay turned on, which I recommend you turn it off immediately, the connection is even worse. Sinkers, they really vary your timing every at bat, it seems. 98 is probably going to feel like 105 if you're on a bad server. Even if you're sitting on it, it's very hard to square up. You can throw it down and away. Again, another pitcher, very hard to throw. Very hard to square up, sorry. So this is the meta, especially on higher difficulties. Sliders, A tier. I think a slider's going to S tier, man. Like really, you can dot them. You can still hang them, but in my experience, sliders don't tend to hang as much, and I really love that high tunneling sliders. I also wanted to mention don't be afraid if this is like your first time playing on Legend. Don't be afraid to throw, to tunnel your off speed up in the zone. It's very effective, especially if you notice your opponent is just swinging early at everything and is hitting fastball. You will get him to swing over the top of a lot of pitches. And I'm saying this because I saw a comment, I don't know where, I don't remember where I saw it, but someone was like, they threw, okay, so the video was about a guy throwing a perfect release pinpoint down middle up and away, middle and away changeup, and he threw a perfect release, and the game just decided to throw it down the middle. And a guy in the comments was like, "Oh, bro, like, what are you doing? You shouldn't even be throwing that pitch. Like, that's one of the worst pitches to throw." And someone said, like, "Bro, that's like a very good pitch. Actually, that's a very good location if you have been tunneling the right way." And he's like, "Well, maybe on All-Star, but on higher difficulties, you cannot throw that." That's absolutely incorrect. If anything, you can, on All-Star, like throwing off-speed up in the zone, you have to be an idiot. Yes, I get that if you hang the off-speed high and in the zone, it's going to get crushed. But as long as you're not missing your spots, it's like a beautiful tunnel. It's going to get high level players to swing through it. So, yeah, that guy didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Outlier slider, S tier. Don't think I need to say anything else. So the slurf, probably like D tier. I don't think it's bad. The splitters are very good, but I would always say the changeups are better than the splitters. Splitters are in a very weird timing windows where it's not slow enough and it's not fast enough, so it's very easy to react. Obviously, if you're tunneling it with Roger Clemens's outlier fastball or Batista's outlier fastball, it's very hard to pick up. But a splitter in general, I don't think it's a very strong pitch. The sweeper, I'm gonna put this in the B tier. I think this is a very underrated pitch this year. I've used it many times with Dustin May. Ottavino has a nasty one. Evan Phillips, who I think is one of the most underrated relievers in the game, throws one that's very disgusting. A lot of movement. With a janky release, it's very hard to pick up. You can get some swing and misses with that. The sweeping curve, Hal Newhouser is the only pitcher that throws this, as far as I know. You're never pitching Hal Newhouser. Go straight into F tier. And the Vulcan change, I'm going to put this in the A tier, which is kind of like the change-up tier here. So a quick little recap. As you can see, we have a lot of pitches in the A and the S tier. I think there's honestly, I don't think there's like necessarily like bad, awful pitches on Legend other than the two that you're seeing on the bottom of your screen. Even the pitches that are on D tier, if you're throwing them at around, like 15 to 20%, you're probably overthrowing it. But I don't think it's as bad as throwing those pitches in lower difficulties. But I will say you're probably spamming again. Going by percentages, I think you should be throwing 50 to 60% of the time the pitches that you're seeing on the S tier, like 28 to 20% of the time you should probably throw in the pitches that you're seeing in the A tier. B tier, you're probably throwing it 15 to 20%. C tier, you're probably throwing it 15 to 10%. D tier, you're probably throwing it a couple times per inning just to show it, so your opponent keeps it on their subconscious. And F tier, you're probably throwing it maybe once a game, but I'll probably just shy away from that. So that is it. That is going to be the end of the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, show all your support, leave a comment down below if you agree with me or you disagree with me. Maybe you have been having success in a certain difficulty with a pitch that I ranked very low. I would love to know. I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to gather information, see what other people think about the game, trying to get better, trying to improve. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Until then, I'll catch you later.